In studio, we do have MP for Homabay Town Constituency, that is Honorable Peter Kaluma. Mheshimiwa, welcome to Radio Generation once again.
Asante.
Yes, we just found us talking about ODM succession and Luo kingship succession. We were talking about that in the previous hour, perhaps.
Why are people stuck on this kingship thing?
Because the king is dead.
The Wanga have a king.
Unakumbuka
The Luos do not have a king.
Winnie Odinga at the burial of the late former prime minister, she said the king is dead, but long live the crown.
When you put it in that context,
yes,
it is easy to understand, because a leader could be called a chief, a leader right now could be called an MP, could be called a governor. So in that context, she is right, and that quotation is apt. The person who stood out as the preeminent leader is dead. Makes sense. But in terms of what we refer to as a monarchy, we do not have a monarchy. I don't know why. There's some people who are stuck with this and they don't move away from it. And I wonder why.
Perhaps you should ask the Mheshimiwa.
Yeah, thank you very much. Let me first, condole all Kenyans who believed in good governance, in human rights, following the passing on of the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. We are still mourning. We laid him to rest the other day. I traveled straight to Nairobi because yesterday was also the day I buried my father.
Oh!
In 2022. We had, small family prayers, and I'll be going back later in the evening today. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to talk to our people. I don't know whether you want me to address the issue you are talking about.
I'd like to hear you on this subject
straight away.
Please.
You are talking here of ODM, you are talking here of Luo leadership.
Yes.
Two separate subjects.
Those are very separate subjects. Luo is an ethnic community in Kenya. It has its values, its culture, its traditions, its customs in terms of how that community does her things. ODM is big. It's a Kenyan national party. In fact, the Luo component of ODM is far, far smaller than people ever imagine. It's a party coming, you find it in Nyanza, you find it in Western, you find it in Rift Valley, you go to places like Turkana, the Maha community in the entire Rift Valley, the Samburus, those are the larger Maha. That is, ODM. You go to Coast, the people of Kwale, Mombasa, Kilifi, you go down to Trans Nzoia, Lamu, people who are very family anchored in the ODM party. In fact, that could be the foothold of the party. You go to Northeastern, you should be knowing that even the current chair of the Council of Governors is a governor of the ODM party, the Honorable Dr. FCPA Abdullahi Ahmed.
Okay.
And so that is the nature of ODM. Whether you are in Garissa, whether you are in Wajir, Mandera, that is the ODM. So you cannot be talking about Luo leadership as if it is the same as ODM leadership. Those are very separate things.
Okay.
Let me tell you something about Luo leadership. Luos have a care, and that care is alive. That care is a gentleman currently called Odungiranda, and you saw him speak.
Yes.
On behalf of the community when the Right Honorable Prime Minister had that state funeral arrangement in Bondo. And so in terms of Luo, what you would call king, which in Luos we call Kir, the king Odungiranda is alive and well, and our community is there.
Okay.
Luo political leadership is different from Luo care. That is why I was telling you, you're talking about different things. What I know is that the Luos are a pastoral community. City will tell you, people think we are fishermen, but very few Luos have access to water bodies. In fact, up to around 100 years ago, Luos were pastoralists. We turned into, fishing as the next available, resource when flies and pests and, parasites decimated our livestock. But if you go to the Luo culture, it is very tightly tied to livestock, more so cattle, cows, bulls. That is our tradition. There is nothing a Luo does that is not tied to either the slaughter or the use of animals. I know you must have seen them when you were, crying, the dages, people have bowls and, people walk with horns. That is how we are. And now, as a pastoral community, Luos don't sit anywhere to decide who is their political leader per time. Remember, I told you Care is a cultural leader, not a political leader.
Okay.
So there is no way you'd expect we will sit to say City Muga is the political leader of the Luos, or Kaluma is the political leader. Number two is that political leadership of a Luo is a very spiritual thing. Okay?
Okay.
The spirit is what we call juogi. Yeah, so that traditional spirit, okay, picks on a leader and you'll just find automatic following. In Luo leadership, leaders emerge. And I hope City could have been whispering this to you.
Actually, he has mentioned it.
Yes.
Several times,
Yeah, so leaders emerge. People don't sit
and decide.
and no one comes up to say, I want to be a leader. The way you see some people are joking. That is not a person who is anchored in Luo. If you looked back, like when Jaramogi, died, I will tell you, if it were left to Jaramogi to choose who was the next political leader of the Luo community before you speak about Fort Kenya, I can tell you, it most likely have not been, Right Honorable Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga. City will tell you. Because he had, or he could have had his own preferences. But Jaramogi dies, and Luos in their mourning period, sit back, and Juogi, landed
on Raila.
And I can tell you, when people were still taking it lightly, people like City, I remember after Jaramogi passed on, you remember the battle in Fort Kenya between Raila and Wamalwa.
Yep.
I was a young boy at that time, and I remember I was riding a bicycle. There were no motorcycles.
No, there were none. They were, but they were very few.
Yes. Yeah, it was with the DOs and headmasters.
Yes.
Those are the only people who had motorcycles in our villages. And so I was riding a motorcycle from a place called Rangwe going to Rodi.
Yes. Rodi as in Rodi Kopany.
Rodi Kopany,
yes.
road company. And before I reached a place called Imbo, I hear some sound. So a voice like Raila very far at Rodi Kopany. I think he was moving around Luoland to tell Luos he's leaving Fort Kenya and we are chatting.
A new path.
A new path. Remember, he's the one moving, but he's telling our people he's moving. I dropped the bicycle because it was too slow.
And you ran on your feet.
And I ran on my feet. So you see, my running there was Juogi. Juogi.
The spirit moved him.
The spirit is moving you. Your body moves better than a bike on a plane level. You can imagine it. And you just find everybody's running there. Who is that? That is Raila. So it pulls people, and that Juogi directs the Luo community on who is their political leader.
Okay.
And it will not be the things I hear you discussing now. It takes some time. Normally 3 months. By 3 months going ahead, you'll start seeing signals. Therefore, I would, having said so, like to tell people who want to be, the political leaders of Luoland, is that Juogi also hates your aspiring to lead. You should let Juogi settle by itself. If you come out as interested, Juogi has a way of putting you where you belong. And then, by the way, if you remember then after that, you remember 1992, then you remember 1997 now, Raila is running. Other Luos also ran even to be president.
Oh, yes.
Others went to other political parties. You must be aware of how Juogi turned its back on them simply because they were disturbing where Juogi had settled, which is Raila at that time. And so you remember Orengo Rain, he did not get much. You remember Nyong'o Rain with SDP, with Ngilu. It did not go anywhere. And then they had to come back and align themselves with Juogi and Ababa to then, be the level where they are. Otherwise, City will tell you, for the next 5 years, even though Baba did not become or get elected president in 97,
yes,
there was a lot of problems for them. So it's a caution. I've had very many people saying I should now be the leader of the Luo. I should forget about it. Juogi
has not yet
identifies, Juogi will settle, and that leader will emerge. Juogi will speak to the spirits of the Luos, and you'll just see the Luo community align. Yeah. So that is how the Luo one will be done.
All right.
So let those who want to lead the Luo community after Raila, calm down. In fact, Juogi will reject you if you continue to intimate or indicate that intention. Juogi never settles at the obvious. It's a spirit. In terms of ODM leadership, I can tell you ODM is a party with a constitution, with rules. As we speak, Dr. Oburu Odinga has been, nominated
interim
party leader of the ODM. And I want to congratulate our NEC for that, because you see, in the situation where we are, we needed somebody with the wisdom, with the stature of Dr. Oburu Odinga to hold this team together. Because one thing which Baba has succeeded in, I hear people keep asking who after Raila. But I can tell you where Baba has succeeded in is that he's mentored and brought up so many leaders. If you look at the ODM party as a party and a Kenyan party, the one thing we have which we cannot talk about is who can lead that party. Okay? So we have so many potential leaders of the party. We want Oburu to lead as the party, and then we'll be having the right organ of the party. Largely I'll be requesting them to endorse him as we set also that the ambitions do not also cut across and destabilize the party unduly for now. But Baba has rested, but I can tell you, I hear people saying, what direction ODM will ODM? There is a way in which when I look back at City, I think there is some age when you reach there, you have a premonition of your death. And you start organizing everything the way you'd want them to be when you are away. I have spent the last 3 months, remember like the last time I was here?
Yes.
Explaining why Baba has had to do a number of things, including telling Gen Z to calm down. And remember I was explaining the last time I was here the situation where we were and how therefore Baba helped us to save the nation. I'm happy now. The people who are saying we were sycophants when we were saying that are in studios all over confirming that indeed no single decision in the political space that Baba ever made was ever so made without consultations. Like you remember the one on the Gen Z 24 and what needed to be. I told you we met up to 13 times.
Yeah.
Different sections. I appeared to be in 13 meetings. The last at the level of the party were 3. And then you remember on that day, Wiper also at their meeting, KANU also at their meeting. We then assembled all the parties at, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Foundation. And so you remember the day that I was spotted standing next to Vice President Kalum when he was to read the resolutions. And when we now met, we were like, what is each party in Azimio saying? It surprised us. They had thought those issues and they had agreed. And so we said, then it is the same thing. It is myself, CT, with Edwin Sifuna, who then wrote those resolutions, drafted those resolutions, which, you remember there was a scuffle before Kalonzo was to read it. But it was a harmonious decision on our, stabilizing the government together and being in broad-based government. So that's when I see some people now saying, hiyo ni kitu ya Raila, say there was a problem. So there was always consultations. Beyond those consultations to stabilize the government city, you've had now people telling you about agile meeting. Allow me to say that because you are asking about Luo and then ODM. ODM, I told you, will do their things under their rules. But as a community city, we have something called dual.
Okay.
And city will tell you what dual is. Dual is the meeting point of the top leadership of the community in position at the time. Largely it is a meeting or the caucus of MPs. The only person MPs from independents allow into dual meetings and have allowed always is the presidential candidate or a person from blue community who runs for presidential candidate. So in our dual, since I joined parliament, the only person other than, MPs, because, leadership is run or governments are run from parliament. That's why people fight for the number of MPs. So the only person we've always allowed in is Baba himself. I know people are talking about a will. Baba said he should be buried in 72 hours. Baba said he should be buried at Kango Kajaramogi, not in his home. And he was a very, forward-looking man and very organized. He must have said how whatever he had on this earth should be handled. But I can tell you that before his death, Baba also passed to us his political will in terms of the desire where we want to go. The only part he never touched is the part I tell you is left to Juogi.
The individual that will actually chart that course.
Yes, certainly. Because I think he also understood now that is a community thing and Juogi, and ODM is not a Luo party anyway. Yeah, but the last dual meeting we had with Baba City, we were at, we usually meet in our houses. We don't meet in hotels. It's a very private meeting. And it's a meeting in which confidence is highly upheld. So you don't enter dual with a phone. Even Baba himself as an invitee does not enter dual with a phone. And for this last dual, Baba insisted and we brought in 2 other strangers to dual. So I told you it's just MPs, both National Assembly and Senate and Baba. But this time we brought in Opio Wandai. This time we brought in Mbade. on Baba's request. And we met in one of our houses. In fact, let me be explicit. We met in the house of the chair of Dual. So you'll investigate who is the current chair of Dual. He's an MP, and you know it. And we met up to around 1 p.m. That's when we were living there. Usually meet after work so that you are not disturbed. One is that an issue arose towards the end of what we were discussing. We were saying, you know, as a community, we are never people who are grey. And City will tell you. We are either black or white, not grey. And so we had a way of posing the question, Baba, what direction 2027? Okay? And in his usual style, one, he asked for his phone to be brought to the meeting if we could permit it. We said, yeah, your phone can come. And he opened some videos he had in the phone. Some of them have been circulating. And we listened to that long video. Then he gave the phone away. Then he gave us our history as a community, his history in the political space, more so from 2002 to date. Okay? I will obviously keep much away. But we did not know, City, that immediately President Kibaki was sworn into office. From Uhuru Park, Baba was shut out, State House completely. Told us how he would call now Kibaki from his phone. Kibaki does not pick. When he's with the other leaders, like Martha Karua and others, he calls Kibaki. Kibaki does not pick. He tells them, can you call him? He picks on the first call, and so he would speak through there. He told us a lot of, tribulations and of course betrayals. He told us to what happened in 2007, throughout. And then he gave us directions in terms of our alignment as a community in case he would not be there. And I don't know whether it was premonition City, but he said 3 times, if I were to collapse and
Die.
No, he said, if I were to collapse, then he said, if I were to die, then he said, if I were to collapse and
Die.
This is the position of my community. Okay? That also I will not disclose because I want to see how Juogi, settles. But I can tell you, in 30 days, as we wait for Juogi to settle in 3 months henceforth, we will be giving our people inklings in terms of his desire. But they are not also very kept. You remember when Baba was in Karachuonyo for the burial of Ibiasio, he also made some statements.
He did.
And he made this in English.
And it was clear.
And he was very clear about where we are going. So let me tell you that as we wait for Juogi to settle, on his part as our leader, okay, he gave us some directions, and we would want to mourn Baba for now. Thereafter, we will explain to our people what Baba desired for them by way of elaboration. But let me thank, the President City for the journey he has walked with Baba in the last, few months of his life, and particularly, the journey he has walked with us since Baba died. My brother, we've lost very many sons and daughters who were worth state honor by way of burial or otherwise. We've lost Jaramogi, you never saw that. We lost very powerful people. Going Kodek, Robert Ouko, in very sad circumstances. You never saw what you've seen throughout the morning of Baba. Ezekiel Yugi, very many people, very senior, members of our community. We've also lost people who are not from our community, but very serious leaders across Kenya.
Yes.
You remember we lost Omalo Kijana.
Masinde Muliro.
After 2002, in 2002, after elections, we lost Masinde Muliro. We lost Martin Shikuku. But even for those who are in leadership, we lost, vice presidents, isn't it? We've lost presidents. We lost, I said, Wamalwa. We lost Kibaki. We lost Kenyatta. Compare the organization around their burial, the passion and emotions around the fact of their passing on to what has happened here. You'll see it at a different level. And so let me, thank President Ruto for the honor. And we are a community who, in as much as a will is given, we never pay good with bad. So I can tell you straight, it will be very difficult for us not to say thank you to President Ruto. And we will do it now. We will continue to be grateful for that honor and recognition. You watched what happened in Kitui yesterday when I saw those children of Kenya, recite that poem and sing. I found myself crying. Again. And to me, I think this is why Jesus said you should have the heart and soul of a child. Our children are so pure.
Yeah.
They speak from their heart. It did not matter to them that is Kitui. They can feel a leader is lost. You know what I mean? And they are so pure. They're not adulterated by tribalism, negative ethnicity, these things we think about. And I'm very grateful they honored Baba. Of course, when I was here last time, City, you remember I at the end of my explaining what happened with the Gen Z situation, said I hope the children of Kenya would appreciate Raila before he dies. I did know Baba's death was coming this soon, but I hope they now know the sacrifices Baba has made for them to have their country and for them to organize, themselves in their country. So ours, of course, is to wish Baba eternal rest. May eternal, light shine upon him, and ours is to carry forth, with this legacy. Teach our people, including those of us in leadership, that there is some hypocrisy I see in Kenya, which is very unfortunate. I've been largely, watching what you see people post, and I'm very happy that even people who were abusing Raila yesterday are now saying this is the best man we've ever had. That is accepted, but how I wish we would say more of such when people are alive, because truly is the greatest Kenyan we've ever had, but also a guy we have really tormented as a nation. We've not given his due, credit when he lived. I'm happy in death we gave him that due recognition, but let us speak more. When something is right, as a leader, say this is right. When something is wrong, don't keep quiet. That is how Raila wanted it. Say this is not right, and suggest how it should be. Of course, we are mourning, but it's also that lesson I hope we will, carry forth.
there is a question I said I was going to ask you, and it
No,
seems
you said you're going to ask many questions.
many questions. Yes, for sure, sure. So, question number one: Mheshimiwa Ruth Odinga said that Raila passed on knowing or thinking that Gen Zs wished him dead. Do you think that Raila actually held that thought?
No. I think you've also misquoted Ruth Odinga. Ruth was being asked by a young journalist
Yes.
thoughts
Gen Z.
around those issues, and it hit her that, but Gen Z's up to the time Raila was dying was saying Raila betrayed them.
Yes.
Yeah, you remember I was in this studio and I explained the situation which led us there.
Yes.
And I said the battle or the situation of 2024 started with reject finance bill. It moved into Ruto must go. It then moved into Kufa driver Kufa
Then Makanga.
Makanga, which meant both Ruto and the DP must go. And remember I asked you to look at Article 146 sub Article 2 to see what becomes of the nation
If that were to
when both the president and the DP are not there. And because you are delaying to check, I told you as a lawyer that it meant the Speaker of the National Assembly would take over, but for a limited period of 60 days,
Yes.
within which you get what I mean,
Elections.
elections had to be held or shall be held. That is the language of the Constitution. Now, you remember we didn't have IEBC at the time, meaning at the lapse of the 60th day, we were not going to have a president, we were not going to have a leader of the country. And I explained that then anybody who is strong, whether through civilian coup or military coup, was to take over.
Yeah.
And I told you, as I said in other media stations, that in all countries where military or a coup has taken place, okay, it takes a whole generation or generations for that country to get back to rail, and for that country to restore constitutional governance. And I explained to you that if we allowed the situation we were looking at in the eye to foster and to go on, remember I explained to you, even you would not be here. There would be no civil servant, no teachers, no doctors, no retiree earning pension anywhere, because you're running it from where? So instead you'll be having tolls of soldiers and other people picking money around. But mostly we would be people seeking asylum elsewhere. Now this is what we were, in fact, people who are rich like City would be maybe in Canada, in Australia, people like Kaluma would be seeking asylum elsewhere immediately. You've seen where it has happened. And because it becomes a rule other than by the Constitution, okay? Now you have a situation, City, where this beautiful Constitution was also going to go. So I think Raila reflected and said, really, we had the Independence Constitution, it was adulterated. We fought for this new constitution. You remember the beating of people like Reverend Joya.
Yes.
The killing of very many Kenyans for us to reach where we were. When we now reached the level where we were passing this constitution in 2010, do you remember that is the time that Baba had the first surgery?
Yes.
You remember in his brain? And I've seen a video circulating where I was saying I was being brainwashed literally upon the opening of my skull. He had a way of making things light. And so this a gentleman who was saying, can we let this go just after 10 years? Or we can save this nation, these people can organize themselves better. And so he stopped it. Instead of our young people and all Kenyans appreciating that Raila was about the stability of the state, so that we can still have this Kenya, good Kenya to work on. And remember, he had a quote where he was saying, better an imperfect nation, which we are still working on, than none. Okay, I would choose an imperfect one and we work on it, than having it none. The Kenyans, what did they call him? Conman. What did they call him? Traitor. Raila became traitor. Worst of all, you now saw Raila become somebody of hand check. And remember I said here, and I say again, City, Once you mentioned the nation and the interest of the nation to Raila, Raila is not a guy you give anything. And that is why people always said it is very easy to out-negotiate him once you are on a seat. Just tell him, in national interest or in the interest of Kenya, where Raila will leave you high and dry. I don't know whether I told you, you remember after 2017 election?
Yes.
The one CTU made a proposal that Kenya was to be split.
You wanted to secede?
To secede. And remember, I drew Kenya, one part yellow, one part blue. And I officially wrote to the chair of the IBC Commission, Chebukati then, and said we want to move under Article Search for a referendum to change the territory of Kenya, because that is what you do. Yeah, because the territory of Kenya is defined in the Constitution.
Yes.
So we would leave a territory of Kenya. The other one was to be Democratic Republic of Kenya, or whatever we wanted to call it. And you know, Chebukati wrote back to me and said, you can proceed.
He wrote.
Yeah, and you know that only required that I get those 2 million signatures, and the Constitution then says Kenya shall go for referendum to determine the new territories of the states. And you remember, I remember that evening when Chebukati wrote City, leaders from the regions I was excluding from our Kenya met at Pan-Africa Hotel, and they said for Kaluma to propose that thing, that is Raila's idea. Those are the people Raila speaks through. And then check the review, the videos of the media.
Yes, they pinpointed you.
The following day, City, I rushed to Capitol Hill. I didn't get Raila there. I went then to his place in Karen with a swag. I was very happy. I was holding these people.
Where you wanted.
Where we wanted. They are now crying after rigging Raila. And remember, we were part of the lawyers who had overturned the presidential election. In fact, people do not know, but I drafted 80% of that voluminous petition. We are not just people who take credit.
People sometimes forget that you're actually a lawyer.
Yeah. People forget. Because we have a way of, subduing what we know in national interest at times.
Okay.
So I thought Baba would embrace me. I thought Baba would be happy.
Yes.
I was not even allowed to sit.
Huh?
I was not even allowed by Baba to sit. Whose country are you thinking of splitting? I thought you had matured. How can you sit and imagine anywhere that Kenya can be split into two? Who told you? No, go. That is the only time Baba chased me away from him. And by the way, having gone, in a swagger, I went back. Yeah, so that is the context which Ruth was talking about. Ruth in Emotions was saying, I wish you looked through Baba's intent and patriotic desire for the country. Because it was a time when it was easy, City, for politicians to say, let the government collapse. In any event, we had just run against President Ruto.
Yeah.
So Ruto going away, Ruto must go, was to our greatest benefit. And by the way, to Raila's greatest, because Raila was the main rival. So it was easy and convenient for politicians. And you've seen most of them in Azimio, left saying, no, Ruto must go. They still saying to date, Gen Z should overturn Kenya. I tell them, even them, they would not be in this country now if we had that situation. And so that is the regret which I think Ruto was expressing. And to me, Baba, if there is something he regrets, is that some of the people he loved so much and he sacrificed all for, he died without, reversing that position. That is a big regret. The other regret, which Baba spoke to me after our meeting at Agile, he called me to follow him. I was very concerned that we were talking of compensation of people who have been injured while fighting for a better Kenya.
Since 2017.
Since 2017. And some people had gone to court to, you remember, stop that team from working.
Yes.
And he requested specifically that I, together with other lawyers, in ODM, including those in parliament, need to join that matter and give the courts his best perspective. And on that perspective, I remember I spoke about it here. For personal injury claims, Paul, you cannot institute an action to claim compensation for personal injury beyond 3 years.
Okay.
And yet you remember Baba was looking at how this thing could go beyond 2017 down there. There are very many Kenyans who lost. They have not been. And indeed, it's not that we want life cannot be compensated. But those families are struggling. Some died, left young. When we were burying people like in 2023, you get a widow who has just delivered a child, a very young girl, because mostly it was the young people who were being killed.
Yeah.
These people have nowhere with us. Some call us even to date saying, can I even sweep, just be a floor cleaner in your office for this child to survive? You came for my for Nani's funeral in Kondele. It's difficult. You just give them a spring. Others have debts, incurred following, the injuries people suffered. Others were hospitalized before. You remember that mama from Busia whose 2 sons died?
Yes, the one whose 2 sons died.
You were there. And you remember I was showing you some photos here. I'm the one who led our team.
Yes.
On the request of Baba to go and check the situation there. That is why sometimes you see me post some things, you go asking, why is Kaluma talking this way? I talk that way not to say people should not be compensated, but I'm saying let us think of all Kenyans. Now, Raila was thinking of how do we open the legal strictures to allow everybody to be compensated. Number 2, to sit here, even for the latest violations, you'll get city when people go to court, okay? Depending on the lawyer you have, how well the case is presented in papers and in evidence, you will get the judge you appear before. You will get one person city being given 3 million, another one 1 million, another one 10 million, another one 50 million, another one 100 million, based on those circumstances. Raila was saying, why can't we agree as a nation that really, whether or not this thing could have been managed better, we need as Kenyans to embrace one another and move together. We heal the past so that everybody feels. And then we can bring a team which collates this thing and we say, when a person lost life, how much do we sacrifice as a nation towards that? When a person
is maimed,
how much do we give? If a person, lost a store like what you saw in Muranga the other time, what do we do? Remember, city also, if you left people to go to court to claim, and remember I told you here last time that for 75 people who were killed, largely in Kisumu and a bit of Nairobi, in the 2023, we filed a case through Paul Mwangi for the 75 of them. City, why isn't that case moving forward? I can tell you, if we let that case to move forward and the judge is looking at law as law, they will get nothing. Because you have to identify the killer weapon where a person is killed. You have to identify the police officer
who killed this person,
or the person who killed this person. Okay? And I can tell you, in that situation where people are being pulled from houses in Kisumu in the night and being killed, who is this? And then you have to confirm negligence, meaning the person who killed you owed you a duty of care. Okay? So look at that police officer who I think was firing a warning shot, and it went and landed on our beautiful girl, Irene Joki, who was seated watching TV in her parents' house. Assume you get the killer weapon. Assume also, and it will be very difficult, because remember, the forensic lab, the ballistic lab, is also run by the police. Okay?
Yes.
Is the only thing we have. Now, but assume you get that. You identify the police whom you must mention in addition to the Attorney General on behalf of the state. Now you have the police in the dock. Prove negligence. The guy will invoke Part B of the 6th schedule of the National Police Service Act. And he will tell you, the situation in which I was allowed me to fire a warning
shot
because my life was in danger, or the lives of some other Kenyans were in danger. So I was firing to scare people. So that thing landed where it landed, as anything which is fired must land. I didn't intend to kill anyway. Negligence has been defeated. Finished. The case is dismissed. Where is Baby Pendo's case to date? You get what I mean? And so Baba was saying, let us create a context away from legal strictures, okay, which will allow for these Kenyans to feel they have been recognized as people who lost as Kenyans when we were fighting for a good Kenya, okay? Of course, Paul, some people disappeared, okay? And to date, you see even people who recommended this thing. You know, this thing is in the NADCO report. Who chaired NADCO?
Kalonzo Musyoka.
On our side was Kalonzo and Wandai.
Yes.
Who were on the other side?
Ichungwa.
Yeah. Maraga was walking with some ladies on the streets the other day during the anniversary, saying they lost children, they should be compensated. And remember, I came here and I was asking, but Maraga as a Chief Justice knows Article 37 talks about the right to assemble, the right to picket, the right to demonstrate, and the right to petition the right authorities for redress. Doesn't Maraga know that this is better addressed before the court of law? If you don't create a forum away from the court of law, where is it now? Now they are cheering the people blocking the compensation. Look at our 10-point agenda, which you remember was taking you through the other time. What is point number 8? Upholding human rights. And that is where compensation for people who are enjoying their right to assemble, their right to demonstrate, is captured. And so it was our condition. We didn't just go to support Ruto and everything. We said we want to support you to achieve this that Kenyans are fighting for. That's number 8. So it is stuck there. And you get even leaders who know this situation, including senior councils, are saying that team should not work. Faith Odhiambo was the one running most around when a person is said to have been abducted or killed, has now withdrawn from the team. Yeah, so you leave these Kenyans to the vagaries. How will that person who lost a whole supermarket in Murang'a get compensated? But by the way, who will he sue? The mob or who? You know what I mean? So that, I can tell you, City, is the second biggest regret. And this I say, this is a regret Raila has died for. Because he told me after the Agile meeting, we had lunch, and he told me, follow me. And he said, please, 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 join that case away from the legalese. Tell the judges that we need to heal this country. People call him to date as a person who was leading in most of these demonstrations and reform actions, saying, you turned our back on us after you stabilized the government. And you go even to say, people are saying we have been dying. For what? You know what I mean? So that is something that I would request our judiciary not to overreach. Allow the executive to do some things. And there is a time we draw a line between Ruto as a person, Ruto as a head of state and symbol of national unity. Let us give him that space as head of state. Ruto as commander-in-chief, away from the police, you know what I mean? And allow things that can enable us to build really a true nation.
Right.
You know, Mheshimiwa, there is difficulty in the times we live in. And the difficulty is perhaps best represented by what I loosely refer to as social media. It's a platform where people will express their views and present these views as facts, whereas in most cases they're just views. If I look at even what you've explained about the Luo nation and how our leaders are chosen, you will find that, again, because of social media, there are people who have already predetermined the position they want to take. That position is best manifested by Ruto must go and one term. And with that perspective, it does not really matter what good the government does. The predetermination is that everything this government does is wrong, and everything this president does is wrong. And it's a charge that there are people who are leading. What I don't hear when I listen to that charge is, okay, after Ruto, then what? then who, and who is coming up with something that they will present and say, this is actually better than what we already have. Because if you were to look at social media even right now with the comments you've made, the people who are already determining, again, through social media, who the Juogi has landed on. And why am I choosing this line of thought process, and why am I expressing it? I am expressing a situation, according to me, where people are not after the truth. Not really. They are after for what is exciting, for what is interesting, for what at that particular moment is, should we say, attention grabbing. The truth sometimes is none of these things, because the truth will upset you. It'll upset the whole equation of the perspective that you actually have. It is not possible to have a human being who becomes a president who will not have faults. In fact, he will have many faults. In fact, he'll have very many faults. And you know why? Because the attention on him is more than on any other human being that the country has at a particular moment in time.
Yeah, we are in a very unfortunate situation, City. You remember the situation I started with is that, number one, we have hypocrisy. Number two, we have people in the political space who are far, far less patriotic than Raila. And so to them, when you say Ruto must go, they see an opportunity for themselves. But they are not asking themselves, as you rightly say, the question that Raila was asking. You remember the funeral of this pilot, Montet, somewhere between, down in Kajiado, where the senator from Muranga was saying, come and join so and so, so that, we can have a change in leadership. And I think you reviewed that video. Okay, so now this leadership that I have to come for, when didn't Raila win? Okay, I have not just been declared. But that is not what I wanted to emphasize. He said, you'll say Ruto must go, then Ruto goes, then we have Kindiki, then Kindiki must go, Kindiki goes, then you have City Muga, City must go, and then you have Paul must go. Where is Kenya in that equation? Can we agree that for some time we can think about Kenya and see whether or not you'll be changing leadership? Kenya is also making progress. And I think that to me was very impactful. You remember, City, there is a time, I think President Ruto was speaking from somewhere in the heat of that urgency, when he was saying that if you are to shoot the leg. Immediately, there are people on scratches. And to date, you hear people saying Ruto ordered children to be shot by the leg. You know what I mean? Is that truly what Ruto was saying? Because Ruto was saying there is a situation under schedule of the National Police Service Act, Part B, which specifies 4 circumstances under which the police must
use their firearm.
Must use their firearm. And when a firearm is used, don't be deceived, City. It is a lethal weapon. So Ruto was saying, if you find yourself in that situation, please go for the leg. We've suffered enough deaths, but how do people turn it? He ordered the killing of our children. And the danger with social media, if not addressed, will be very messy going ahead. There is a country which recently elected somebody who was only on TikTok. And by the way, the election was just reversed on the account that the guy was not seen anywhere. Okay? But he's a TikTok guy who never went anywhere, but the hype is built. And the luck we have, City, is that for Juogi, social media can never, override Juogi, because Juogi is a spirit, is spiritual. So whether you make noise about Kaluma must be the leader, City must be the leader, if Juogi chooses Paul, Juogi will even, work on your noises, and you'll see all of them, moving the direction very smoothly.
Mheshimiwa, on 15th, the president signed a couple of bills. The National Land Commission Amendment Bill of 2023, the Land Bill of 24, Wildlife Bill of 2023, Computer Misuse and Cyber Crimes, the National Police Service. I mean, you know them. And according to The people who've wamechambua, they're saying that this are supposed to give the government the power to spy and silence Kenyans.
I sit in the speaker's panel. I preside over the house, so I know all those laws in detail.
Right.
If you've seen any time I'm presiding, I'm never a speaker who sits and is just looking at the house. I want to understand what is being debated. Whether it is a report, whether it is a bill, I'll call it. And you'll see whenever a member is contributing, I also... And so people have been accusing me sometimes of asking a member who is contributing, but can you read this and also explain? Especially knowledgeable members. Those laws were passed by Parliament. Ruto does not legislate. All legislation, wherever they originated from, must come in the name of an MP, not Attorney General or anybody nowadays, because the power to legislate is in Parliament. And those laws are passed by the representatives of the people. I can tell our people that no business of Parliament can be transacted without public participation. In the passage of all those laws, I can tell you there are reports coming from all Kenyans. And we normally do a minimum of 21 counties, at the very minimum, okay? What Kenyans have said in respect of each law. The problem I see in Kenya is that sometimes people who are commenting either don't read a bill or don't read a law as passed. Remember when we were dealing with the finance bill this year, people were saying, oh, you want to tax bread, you want to do this, and CT, you'd remember even Buddy asking, which clause is that? It's not that. It's not that. Let our people read.
Okay.
You know, the law has passed. We are currently dealing with the privatization bill, whose second reading I presided over, and remember I put the question and we said it was passed. Why were we dealing with it? When we went for public participation as members of the Finance Committee, I was in Mombasa, Kwale, Kilifi, Tana River, myself. And people thought that the bill was about privatizing resources. Until I stood and explained to them, can you look at clause 19? Can you look at clause 21? Can you look at this clause also? What it is proposing is this, and we gave bills to the people. And then the people told us, expedite that bill. Because the people discovered that bill, if passed into law, would make it more difficult to privatize than the situation now. Because it puts very many limitations and restrictions and procedures, including of appeal up to the Supreme Court. Which people are saying now, expedite it. But you see, and we were saying, pass it quickly. Because if we enact it into law, before even this privatization people were talking about, it could even stop that. Okay? So the people talking about, some of those laws need to read them. If you find that there is something that is still amiss, an MP can bring an amendment bill to that provision or take it to court and it will be struck out. But I want to tell Kenyans that we are very sensitive on matters privacy, even as leaders. When privacy can be breached, even leaders are not, safe. And anything privacy, even if you've seen our debates over the 3 years on provisions of the finance bill which would allow, easy taxation in as much as it would make it convenient. Anything touching on the privacy, anything going beyond a person's sitting room or a person's, details of finances that are regularly, issuable, tumetoa yote. So if there is a problem, alert us. You can still petition us and then I'll bring an amendment. If there is a problem, go to court. But I can assure you, those laws as passed are very good. City, there is a time when I was talking about this Gen Z, please listen to Baba. Okay? A site came on phone here called Kremlin.
Okay.
City. And that site, that site came with Kaluma, went to a city called St. Petersburg in Russia, in a hotel, they said Radisson Blue or what?
I think it was Radisson.
I called prostitutes.
Right.
I was not able to pay them in the long run. They then brought their own gang. I was sodomized. You saw even human stools poured all over, which they were saying, are coming out as I was being sodomized. I don't know whether using bottle or what. Which Russia? Can that happen to you, and in which hotel that level? And Kaluma is a person who is an intact human being. I've not even gone to that city they are talking about, city. But they moved me to St. Petersburg, brought me back, and like a whirlwind, when you see most of my tweets today, city, I post something. People who cannot argue with me, what do they say, city? Peter Kanyuma. Sijui haga nini. I don't know whether you watch those things. What do you think of my family?
I mean, I watched
reading those things.
I watched that entire
now,
drama.
What do you think of my children who read that thing? What do you think of the friends of our family and my friends, my in-laws, my relatives who read such things? So we are saying there are clear instances of abuse of the cyberspace, and those we must stop. Okay? As we also safeguard the right to expression, the right to hold opinion, and we have a law which secures that space is used for national good and for self-good, not for destruction of others.
So at no point will the government spy on Kenyans?
No.
Because of these bills?
Not by law.
Okay.
I can tell you, no doubt, even as TCT is typing something on social media there,
right?
The government will always see what you are doing, but not by law. And under the law. And we put laws to restrict the use of all levels of information you receive, unless you cannot use.
There's a level of spying, though.
There is a level of spying. There is nothing I post here which they never see. When you are in a person, your level, I can tell you, Paul, you are an opinion shaper.
Right.
City, you are a stakeholder in this nation. You are for all communication. Is somewhere. You must know the history of even WhatsApp. Where did it originate from? So there is a level they see. What the law stops is their disclosure of the information they know about you.
Okay.
The use of that information, and then the law stops admissibility of that information if it is to be used to hurt you or to hurt your interest. It can't work.
All right. Yeah. You want to say something before I ask the next question?
No, please go on.
All right. There's something the president said during the burial in Opoda Farm. He said that, this is me paraphrasing, that he will not allow people to divide ODM. And ODM will form a very big...
It was not Opoda Farm. It was at Jaramogi
University.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
But you get what I mean?
Yes.
He said that he will not allow people to divide ODM, and he said ODM will form either the next government or be part of the next government.
Yes.
Perhaps, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, that to me recognizes that we are a multi-party democratic state, as stated in Article 2. You see, part of the political will Baba left us with, and you've seen people misinterpreting his last communication to us at Agile. Baba always advised, in accordance with our law, that ODM must always remain a distinct party. And so that when we are open to any coalition arrangement, we can never disband. We can never dissolve. We can never be absorbed. We only go into such arrangements as ODM. That is point number one. And I think President Ruto recognizes that we can go into an arrangement with him, but not that we kill ODM and we are absorbed by him. ODM must remain ODM, and I think it is something Baba could have also shared with him, because you see, even in the by-elections coming, UDA has no candidate in Kasipul, UDA has no candidate in Ugunja, UDA has no candidate in Magarini or in any ward where it is the ODM leader who died. So are us. You've not heard of ODM candidate in Malava. We've left them to do their things there. Whether they succeed, we want that unity.
Do you have one in Banisa?
Banisa must be ours.
Okay.
I think if it was the ODM guy who died, then I can tell you the ODM is the party with a candidate there. Not otherwise, but I'll cross-check. Right. But that is the agreement which Baba, insisted on, so that we want stronger political parties. We want to have ODM strong. We want all parties to be strong. Okay? But we can then go into a coalition. The second position of Baba, which he said at Agile, is that ODM will always have a presidential candidate. And I think I explained it here last time. ODM, when it is going into an election alone, will always have a candidate, and that candidate will be ODM presidential candidate. If ODM comes to the realization that it cannot go alone, which is, I think, the situation we've seen in Kenya for the past many elections.
Yes.
And it goes into a coalition. ODM first nominates their candidate the way you've seen us do before. Even last election when we were in Azimio, you saw ODM first nominates Raila. Wiper nominates Kalonzo. Jubilee nominates their candidate. Then those candidates come to the table through the party structures, and now it is agreed who is the flag bearer. Once the flag bearer is agreed, whether he came from the ODM or it is from Wiper or it is from UDA, that is the party's candidate. That's what we mean. So either way, whether through coalition or as a lone party, ODM will always have a presidential candidate. I've seen some people being cheeky, people who have essentially left ODM, confusing people to say ODM will have a candidate. What of the situation in a coalition? When we were facing elections last time, Wiper had a presidential candidate, and that presidential candidate was Raila. Before we formalized the Azimio coalition, they nominated Kalonzo.
Yeah.
But once you go into a coalition, now the coalition plays. The coalition candidate becomes the candidate of all the political parties forming the
coalition.
And so ODM will always have a presidential candidate, whether that candidate is a member of the ODM or a member of the parties forming the it will be the candidate of ODM alone or in that coalition arrangement. And so that is what Baba also wished, and I want to thank the president that he recognizes that there is no day city Kaluma will leave ODM to go and stand in Homabay under UDA because that will not be in keeping with the battle Baba led for multi-party democracy with people like Matiba, Rubia and others. We can't allow that. So ODM must be allowed its space to grow. Yeah. And I'm grateful to the president. He said he will support us to strengthen.
Okay.
You know, there's the discussion about the 8 bills that were signed. I'm glad you've mentioned that these things passed through Parliament. Let me ask the question. Before these bills are taken for the president's assent, do we ever make our bills public to the citizenry of Kenya so that you can actually read it yourself and determine what it's all about?
The people of Kenya look at Article 118 of the Constitution. It says all businesses transacted by Parliament, whether by way of legislation or any other business, is open and must be open to public. Number 2, there must be public participation. By the way, most of the laws which have been collapsed by the courts have been collapsed on account that there was inadequate public participation. And the courts have said public participation must be meaningful, must influence the ultimate decision. And that is why when a bill is going for the second reading before it goes to the committee, the third reading where it is looked at provision by provision, clause by clause, you cannot take a bill through second reading, that general debate, before public participation has been done and the report is before the House. And that report is a report of what people said, not just in the public participation meetings. All bills in Parliament, like those bills you're talking about, just Google parliamentary website. They're all there. They're all there.
I guess what City is asking is before the president assents.
Yes.
Are they publicly available?
They are available.
Okay.
Because remember, the parliamentary proceedings are open, okay? And then you go to committee of the whole House. I've been in a situation, City, where we have been condemning the current parliament. That the committee of the whole House stage is the legislation stage. At that stage, each and every provision of a bill is read word by word, punctuation by punctuation, and that is where it is corrected. If you saw the previous parliaments, that is the time you will not see Kaluma absent in the House, you will not see Honorable Millie Odhiambo absent. because it is also informal. The speaker leaves the speaker's chair to come down here. You can easily interact and walk across against all other rules, and you consult. And by the way, that is the time at which most of these provisions, are changed. And so studiously we've been there. Most of the members we brought into this parliament are always in parliament, other times not at the committee of the whole house. And that is why parliamentary also proceedings require a quorum. There must be at least 50 in the National Assembly for you to transact. Otherwise, if a person says there is no quorum, a bell has to ring. And if you don't attend it, the business, collapses straight away. So these bills will be transacted that way. So if you have a bill which is of interest, number one, it is notified at first reading. It is debated at second reading. It goes to the committee of the whole house, watch it. Immediately it is passed. Whatever is passed is available on the website. And the president has been very good. None of these bills you'll find was signed. Immediately it was passed. Because president also has his own team, legal team at State House, so that you hear presidents refer back a lot to parliament. Like before Baba passed on, we were dealing with so many referrals where he says, no, delete this provision, this is not good, this is bad. And of course, if he does so, it also comes back to parliament, and the referral will also be available on the website and is gazetted. So there are all steps.
Does parliament have a communication department?
Yes.
What do they do?
The Parliamentary Broadcast Union is to speak to the businesses coming on the floor to broadcast. You see, unlike before when you had, the television, the network, the broadcast from Parliament was coming through KBC.
Yes, it was.
Now you see PBU. And by the way, Parliament has hunted so many of our journalists who are prominent outside here.
Yeah.
People like Goen, very many people who are prominent media persons are not
into the PBU.
Yes, those media persons are to communicate what is coming up, what has been passed, and briefly the effect or impact of it. So if you Google this, for instance, you will get all information about what that provision against all the politics seeks to address.
But more importantly, I guess also just in line with what City is asking, is there someone like a communications lead, like the way Philip Etales of ODM?
We have a directorate. In fact, what we are now pushing for City is to upgrade the parliamentary broadcast unit. We have also a committee in charge of broadcast and communication, a whole parliamentary committee with 15 members, a standing committee, which I found in Parliament, it is still there. And then what we were saying, City, is that we need to move that committee and that directorate from being just in charge of information and communication to now public relations, because public relations is much bigger.
You've understood where I was heading with the question.
How do you bounce this thing in a manner that invites particular public attention and gives the right perception of a thing? Because I'm telling you, these bills are good, but because of social media and these other channels of communication, people could be adulterated.
That is why I asked the
question.
And
on City, I tell you, I'm happy you've asked that question. You remember the finance bill I was talking about? Let me tell you, by the time we were rejecting it, because of Gen Z pressure, we had deleted all the bad provisions and added very good people provisions, all of which we lost because we failed in terms of public relations, and we failed in terms of sound, impactful communication. So we want to upgrade it to a public relations, directorate.
If you look at the frequency with which our courts throw out certain bills because of inadequate public participation, this is really where I was headed. If there is indeed a communication department, should they not lead the charge in ensuring that questions such as the one I'm asking, even telling people and saying, these are the bills that are going through the various stages, and this is where you can find them? Because if I interact with that bill online, I am actually participating. Okay?
Let me tell you, like this year's finance bill, we even created a code which we circulated, and by the way, most of the public views came, online through that code. And largely, I told you that is when we went into, the finance committee. I was previously in Justice and Legal Affairs. Now I'm in finance committee, and we insist, even as lawyers, that we must do this. Let me tell you, a number of cases we were also losing, city, were because of representation and the people addressing court on behalf of Parliament. So you get Parliament being sued, but the person addressing these issues is outside, does not know the procedures of Parliament. Within Parliament, currently city, in the last 1 year, no single law has been killed on account of inadequate public participation. Why? Because we've created something that is a caucus of lawyers within Parliament who can join the others outside there to explain to courts some of these issues. And I can tell you shockingly, there is a time that, recently they nullified the NGCDF Act, and we are in the Court of Appeal. Do you know the Chief Justice shocked us when he was called to open some court built using, CDF in Seme. So he hears the people explaining, the MPs are not even there. When they were having colloquium and we had a short meeting with them in Mombasa, said, by the way, this CDF, even if you look at our judgments, we've always imagined you have even the CDF check. You are the ones who decide what goes where. You go doing the contracts, and he's telling fellow judges, I didn't know. The CDF check is kept by the district accountant.
Yes.
It is signed by the district accountant upon receiving money and authority to incur expenditure to go to a particular school. Okay? In addition, with the fund account manager, who is an employee of the planning department of the Ministry of Finance.
Yes.
The MP is now nowhere. And the other judges are like, what? So really, 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 we need to upgrade public information and communication to public relations. And it is important because while least the parliamentary procedures are explicit, okay, people take them for granted. City, why do we have the first reading? Where you just hear on the order paper there is a bill on cybersecurity, whatever amendment bill, and it is just read by a clerk and then it sits back, no debate. And debate will follow even a month later. That time after first reading is when the bill is sent to the committee to take for public participation. Now, why do we do first reading? It is to notify the public that there is this law.
This bill exists.
Parliament will be considering shortly. So start preparing. People are coming to the ground. But do people know that? So
no, we don't.
We need a public relations directorate. And as I've said, move away from broadcast communication and information to public relations directorate. And it's something the current Speaker of National Assembly is thinking about.
The equivalent secretariat within ODM that deals with communication, would you say that they do justice to the communication that the public needs to know about ODM? Because what you've done today is do what they ought to do.
Yes. The ODM is also doing very well. You remember, even around the send-off of Baba, most media stations were being fed by Azimio, TV. And our ODM, communication system, you said, as Etale and others. And I think that is where ODM has succeeded under Baba. That ODM was able to build institutions and to be very institutional. Very institutional in the sense that you will find a member X disagreeing with a member Y, for instance. But once the relevant organ of the party sits and takes a position, it is done. And by the way, people do not know, but there are times the various institutions of the ODM even met out punishment, which you have to deal with.
Yes.
Like there is a time we had a fracas in Homabay. I was fined 1 million. And by the way, if you don't pay, they'll get you out of the membership.
What exactly was that disagreement about, Mheshimiwa?
It's not necessary for now. but I'm telling you, that this thing, the lack about ODM is, having institutions which work within the party itself. The problem we have is that, towards the end of Baba's life, it was too, so you would see a member.
Explain this. He was too, put it in words.
You see, you would see a member doing things for which the member would be called like contradicting a formal position of the party, resolution taken. And City, sometimes you'd get so annoyed. You remember there is a time I got so annoyed with Sifuna, for instance.
Yes, you did.
And Baba and I said, there is no way, Baba, you can speak today. Then the following day, your Secretary General is contradicting you on a decision which was made, and a decision the Secretary General himself read, saying broad-based government has no... How? That is a person who must be sanctioned. You know what he told me? Hizo ni zenu. I didn't know he was going to die, it would be ours. Akasema hizo ni za dunia, hizo ni zenu. So I don't know. But there is a way in which he became too large. He therefore accepted a bit of misbehavior on our part. And I hope that now that is rested, because the strength of the party derives from its working institutions.
Right.
Those institutions would ensure that they impartially work and keep order in the party.
Mheshimiwa, one last question. We have about 2 minutes before we end. The president in Jaramogi Oginga Odinga University, he said Mbadi Tosha. Should we give weight to those words, or what did the president mean by Mbadi Tosha?
The president does not direct our community. I told you our community is directed by Juogi.
You've said it very correctly.
So unless Juogi was speaking through the president, which Juogi has to confirm to our spirit being spiritual itself.
Right.
Don't worry about what the president said or what the president did.
Okay.
The president, however, appreciated the good work Mbadi
has done as a CS.
Has done as a CS, and I can tell you, the exchange rate for the dollar has moved from 168. It is now on average 128. 128, therefore quite some time it shoots to 129. Sometimes the highest it has ever gone is about 130. It is true that the foreign debts are being paid, though we are still dealing with interests. And I told you last time that of the 2.5 trillion we collected the previous year, which we are using this year, 1.17 trillion is going towards paying those debts. Devolution, they are getting money in time. Even this CDF we are talking about, goes to develop, the national government issues in our constituencies in good time, unlike before. So the president, I heard the president to be appreciating Mbadi.
Okay.
And I know the president respects the range and space of Juogi. So Juogi will direct the community, and then the constitution of the ODM party will direct the ODM party.
The president is a politician.
Yeah.
He had a lovely forum in which to endear himself to a certain voting bloc.
No, but appointing Mbadi CS, by the way, is not a small thing for us. I've seen people like Alwale saying Mbadi is Suba, not Luo. But remember the constitution.
Including yourself.
Yes, the constitution says there shall be ethnic and regional balance, and minorities like Suba will also be integrated. So though Mbadi may not be Luo according to Aluale, let me tell him, regionally comes from Luonyans, and we are very proud and grateful to the president that it is Mbadi who is the first.
Mheshimiwa, thank you so much for coming, and we wish you well as you continue to remember your father, your late father, and as you go back to up country. Salimia watu wa huko na waambie wasikize Radio Generation.
Asante.
All right.
Radio Generation is 88.8
FM. But Luos are tech savvy. radiogeneration.co.ke.
Yes.
Hapo wanatupata anywhere in the world.
Yothurwa winjuru Radio Generation 88.8 FM. Ai kama wache weche wa maonge ngama winjo gik makuodho toke kucho. Ero kaman.
I have not understood it, but it
I was speaking in Latin.
All right, this is where we come to a close.